We're continuing with the Eightfold Path, and we're bringing in a new fold, a new spoke, traditionally translated as livelihood. And we're expanding that definition from multiple sources to livelihood, sustenance, and survival.
So that covers a lot of ground. You know, I used to think of it as just what you did to earn money, to sustain yourself, and to survive. Well, I guess that's all what you just said, isn't it? But it's more than the earning money. What it is also about, what do you do in the world that has meaning, that has positive impact, that helps, helps yourself and others on this path.
Right, and that takes, Nellie, that takes some effort and determination and commitment to really go towards what has meaning for us, what matters, to find that, to then, take that path.
And the other word I'd add on is clarity, to really know. How do we get there? How do we know what's really the right way to put forth our work in this world? If we could just call it work in this life, how, we have to get a certain kind of clarity of mind, which of course I'm a strong proponent that that's what meditation can lead to, is those kinds of clarities. I had a clarity, and I'm sure this is in the book, but I had a clarity about work when I was on a retreat back in the 1980s when I worked for this feminist, worker-owned cooperative. That's a very, very good, I believe in those values. Selling natural foods and spices were very good too, right? But my mind was full of the whole retreat, the price of cinnamon. Now, when I think about it now, we could just call that a samadhi, that I was just kind of cinnamon, how much per pound. Um, but I didn't want my mind to just be full of getting the best price,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was good work. That's not what
Right.
I wanted. And I was so clear that I
Right.
had to change careers at that point.
Right. And fortunately for me and for many others, you did, because, because that's not what we talked about in our hot springs, which, we have the fortune, and a lot of gratitude that we have the privilege to talk about the Dharma on our vacation. And Nellie and I just got back from celebrating 20 years of Dharma teaching friendship. And we didn't once talk about the price of cinnamon. but but really on that, which was a vacation time off, we were drawn to continue our discussions about the Dharma, about our Sangha, about the direction, and kind of refining our direction. And we wanted to talk about a definition of privilege because it did feel like a privilege, and we have gratitude that we can do that.
So let's see.
It's written
Where
in
is our
bold.
definition?
It's written
Okay,
in
our
bold.
definition is is that conditions allow it, rather than, let's say, I, me, mine, my intentions, my actions. Really, it's conditions. The reason why I had we had the privilege to do that is we had the conditions. We had enough money. We had enough time. We have enough friendship. We have this is more ours, but a commitment to, you know, giving ourselves acknowledgement for our work. Perhaps that's a little off track.
No, but there's something to it of a middle way of, claiming we're doing this great work to save the world. And also, it doesn't matter that much because we're a small Sangha in the midst of a lot of other larger Sanghas. I think we're always walking that line. How do we talk about the value? How do we validate the value and the work that we're doing?
Well, I think, yeah. So this is one of the ways that
Yeah.
we did that, and
Uh,
and it was a privilege, and it was beneficial to us, and hopefully we even came up with a few good ideas for going forward with what we're doing here.
yeah.
Um, Now this is in contrast.
Contrast. I was going to say
You-
the same thing.
You're going to
Yeah.
say the same thing. Should I go on?
You
Or
should. You should.
okay, I should. All right. A lot of livelihood can be stressful, soul crushing. necessary for financial, gain and survival, but terrible. I bet most of us have done some of that work in our lifetime. Uh, what came to mind for me was the short amount of times that I worked in agriculture, picking apples or picking hops or being on the apple line or in the canning factory. Oh God, at the end of the day, just one day, I felt so crushed. And yet that's what many, I don't know, most people
Right.
have to do to survive, to pay the bills.
Right, and this aspect of survival is brought in from the translation of ajiva, which is the actually the Pali word, the Buddhist word for livelihood, for this right livelihood, which means to live. So we're really looking at what do we need to do to live? And
Mhm.
here we have the needs. What are the needs? Some people just have basic needs they have to fulfill to live in this lifetime, and that can really dampen a type of flourishing or a type of growth that we take for granted. My mind went to, the immigrants some who come over and have a level of work, professional work or competency, and then have to come over into the US and start at menial jobs and actually can't get out of them. And their whole life has changed. And that's the kind of dukkha that they carry with them
Mhm.
around work and survival.
And my mind went to my parents, and neither of them got to do the work they wanted to do. They had to both support their family, and they were cut out of certain jobs. It wasn't open to them as Jewish people. And so, they just did what they actually, they tried to make the most of what they had. I mean, in terms of their work. But yeah, and I was always aware that they wanted something different for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, similar even with just women's professions at the time. You could be a nurse or a teacher. And that, I grew up with a mother where that was the case, but that is very different now. So, yeah.
And
Bob,
my mother couldn't do either.
yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
allowed for Jewish
yeah,
women. But at any rate, here I am. Here we are, getting to do the work we want and love. Yesterday, I was teaching at a sort of an insight meditation event, and I just spent at the end. I was acknowledged for my commitment to the Dharma, and I just said, "It's a love affair. I love it."
yeah. There's a
So what?
level. Yeah,
How
yeah,
privileged is that to be able to do the work that you have a love affair with? It doesn't get better than that.
yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, and that's soul lifting and, rather than soul crushing. And this is one thing we wanted to bring in of this kind of uplift or kind of energetic feel, aliveness that comes with being able to do what matters, and how that kind of feels soul crushing when you don't have that. um, and not soul like we each have an enduring essence soul like that energy just gets damped out of you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I like using the word soul that way and in a sense taking it back from that more common meaning, that which gives us energy, aliveness, meaning. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So appropriate livelihood is how this is talked about. Appropriate caring livelihood. Again, we're kind of looking at this other language for the right way to have livelihood or sustenance or work, and taking it into other terms of appropriate and caring.
And so under the conditions of this time in our lives, it's really a big deal, actually. How do we respond? What is appropriate? What is the appropriate work to do now? Not clear, but very important.
Okay,
Or
we'll
not yet clear
end.
to me, I should say.
Yeah, well, yeah, to many of us, I mean, it's a confusing time.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I think we'll end here and Nellie will